The sky over the desolate planet was a harsh canvas of dull grays and faint blue streaks, the kind of sky that offered little comfort to those who lived beneath it. Winds swept across the rocky plains with a biting force, carrying tiny grains of dust that stung the skin and made breathing difficult. In the midst of this barren landscape, Alara crouched behind a jagged rock formation, holding her small child, Tico, close to her chest. His wide eyes reflected fear and hunger, and she pressed her lips to his forehead, whispering words that she hoped could soothe him. Alara had been alone for months now. The father of the child had vanished in the first harsh storms that struck their settlement when they arrived on this unwelcoming world. There had been no warning, no time to prepare, and no one to rely on, except each other. Survival had become a daily, grueling challenge. Each morning was a test, and each night a gamble. Tico whimpered softly as Alara scanned the horizon. The evening winds had picked up, and shadows stretched across the rocks like creeping fingers. Her stomach growled, and she knew her child was hungry. She had saved what little food she could find yesterday, but it would not last until tomorrow. The thought tightened her chest. Hunger had a way of sharpening fear, and fear could cloud judgment. She had to find food, no matter the risk. Carefully, she lifted Tico onto her back, securing him with a cloth tied around her shoulders. He rested his small head against her neck, trusting her completely. Alara had always prided herself on being resourceful, but this planet was testing her in ways she had never imagined. She moved slowly, deliberately, avoiding the patches of brittle ground that threatened to collapse beneath her weight. Every step was calculated, every breath measured. The canyon lay ahead, a treacherous divide that split the rocky plains like an open wound. It was rumored that edible plants grew in pockets near its cliffs, nurtured by hidden springs that refused to reveal themselves easily. Many had tried to reach the canyon before, and had failed. Some had fallen. Others had been claimed by the predators that prowled at night. But Alara had no choice. Her child's survival depended on her courage and wits. As she approached the edge of the canyon, the winds picked up even more, pushing her forward, forcing her to press herself against the rocks for balance. The darkness was creeping in, swallowing the colors of the planet, leaving only the dull gray of stone and the faint glow of the alien moon overhead. She could hear the distant calls of the predators, low and rumbling, vibrating through the ground. Her pulse quickened, but she focused on the task ahead. Fear was useful. It sharpened her senses, made her agile, made her alive. She spotted a narrow ledge that seemed to bridge the canyon's width. It was precarious, crumbling in places, but it was the only path. Tico stirred on her back, sensing her tension. She whispered softly, "We will be safe soon, little one. Just a few more steps." His small hand grasped her shoulder, his tiny fingers curling around the cloth that held him to her. She felt a wave of protective instinct surge through her. This child was her world, her reason to face dangers she would never have imagined confronting alone. Alara inched along the ledge, her footfalls careful and deliberate. Rocks shifted under her weight, and once, a loose stone slid downward with a hollow clatter that echoed in the canyon. Her heart leapt into her throat, but she did not stop. Every step was a negotiation with gravity, every movement a conversation with the planet itself. Finally, she reached a small plateau where the rumored plants grew. They were unlike anything she had seen on Earth. Broad, shimmering leaves that caught the faint light of the moon. The air smelled faintly sweet, a welcome relief from the dusty harshness of the plains. She knelt, gently gathering the plants, inspecting each for signs of rot or toxicity. Her hands worked quickly, but carefully. Time was running out. The predators would soon roam closer to the canyon's edge, drawn by movement and scent. Suddenly, a tremor shook the ground beneath her knees. Rocks shifted, and dust fell in a small cloud. Alara froze, listening. A low rumble echoed through the canyon. Her mind raced. A rock slide? A predator? She could not tell. Tico stirred, his small whimpers breaking through the silence.
She whispered, "Stay still, Tico. We will be fine."
She adjusted her grip, making sure he was secure on her back, and scanned the terrain. The tremor passed as quickly as it had arrived, leaving a few dislodged stones tumbling into the depths below. Alara exhaled slowly, a hand pressed to her chest to calm her racing heart. She could not linger. She had what she came for, and now she had to return. The canyon would be even more dangerous on the way back, with the darkness deepening and the winds howling stronger. But she did not hesitate. Her journey back was a careful retracing of her steps. She balanced on the ledge, testing every foothold before committing her weight. Tico's breathing was calm, but she could feel the tension in his small body. It mirrored her own. The predator's calls were closer now, and she could see the faint outlines of their forms against the dim moonlight. One misstep, and everything could be lost. She reached a section of the canyon where the rocks jutted out in sharp angles. She had to climb, using her hands and feet in perfect coordination. One wrong move would send both her and Tico plummeting into the depths. She worked slowly, muscles straining, sweat running down her face despite the cold air. Tico shifted slightly, and she pressed a hand to his back, reassuring him with warmth and presence. "Almost there, little one." "Just a little further," she whispered. Hours seemed to stretch as she navigated the canyon. The wind threatened to push her off balance, and the shadows played tricks on her eyes. She saw shapes that weren't there, heard sounds that vanished when she turned her head. Fear was a constant companion, but so was determination. She could not fail. Finally, she reached the outer edge of the canyon, where the terrain leveled and the rocks gave way to more stable ground. Relief flooded her, but she did not stop. The predators still lurked, and the planet itself seemed to test her resolve with every gust of wind. She pressed onward, each step carrying her closer to safety. As she emerged onto the plains, she caught sight of the faint outline of a shelter she had built from scavenged materials. It was crude, but it was home. Tico stirred, sensing the familiar surroundings, and she felt a flicker of hope in her heart. She had risked everything for this moment, and now she could finally provide for her child. Inside the shelter, she laid out the plants she had gathered, inspecting each one carefully before feeding Tico. His small hands grasped at the leaves eagerly, and she watched with relief as he ate. Hunger, she realized, was a powerful motivator, but so was love. Her own stomach growled, but she pushed the sensation aside. There would be time for her to eat later. Right now, Tico's well-being was paramount. As the night deepened, Alara settled beside her child, holding him close. The wind howled outside, rattling the makeshift walls of their shelter. But inside, there was a fragile sense of safety. She reflected on the journey she had undertaken, the risks she had faced, and the sheer determination that had carried her through. Survival was not just about skill. It was about courage, love, and the refusal to give up. The first part of her story closed with Alara watching the alien sky, faint streaks of light dancing above her. She knew the world was harsh, that dangers waited around every corner. But she also knew that she and Tico could endure. She had proven to herself that human ingenuity and resilience could overcome even the most unforgiving environments. And as Tico drifted into sleep, she allowed herself a small, quiet hope that perhaps, in time, their lives could be more than just survival. The night stretched on, and the wind whispered through the plains, carrying the promise of another day. Alara tightened her grip on Tico, whispering softly, "We will survive. We will thrive. You and I, little one." In the quiet, under the alien stars, she made a silent vow. No matter the cost, no matter the risk, she would do everything to protect her child and secure a future where they could live with hope and safety. The following day, the winds had calmed slightly, but the harshness of the alien world remained. Alara moved cautiously, her senses alert to every sound and movement. Tico clung to her side, holding onto her hand as they navigated the rocky terrain. She had learned that the smallest changes in the environment could indicate danger. Loose stones, the shift in the wind, or even the distant sound of a moving creature. Every step was deliberate, measured, and full of purpose. Survival had taught her patience, and patience had become a tool she wielded like a weapon. As they moved toward a more sheltered part of the plains, Alara noticed a faint hum in the air. At first, she thought it was the wind playing tricks on her, but the sound grew more distinct, steady, and purposeful. She froze, her body tensing. Tico pressed against her leg, sensing the tension in her posture. The hum was not natural. It carried the unmistakable rhythm of machinery. Her heart quickened, but she remained calm, assessing the source of the sound. From the horizon, a small craft descended, moving with precision and grace. It was unlike anything she had ever seen, metallic and sleek, reflecting the weak light of the alien sun. Alara crouched behind a rock, shielding Tico as they watched. The craft touched down gently, and a hatch opened with a quiet hiss. Figures emerged. Humans, their uniforms unfamiliar but immediately recognizable. Alara had never seen humans on this planet before, except in the stories her ancestors had told. Seeing them in person stirred a mix of fear and hope within her. The humans moved cautiously, scanning the area with devices that emitted soft pulses of light. They were explorers, but they carried themselves with caution and intelligence. Alara observed them closely, noting their movements, their methods, and the way they interacted with the environment. She realized that they were not predators. They were thoughtful, careful, and deliberate. Perhaps, just perhaps, they could be allies. Alara pressed Tico against her chest, whispering softly, "Stay close, little one. We must be careful." The humans advanced slowly, using their tools to scan the rocks and plants. One of them, a tall figure with a calm demeanor, paused and looked directly in her direction. Their eyes met for a brief moment, and Alara felt a shiver run down her spine. They did not attack. They did not raise weapons. They only observed. The humans spoke softly among themselves, their voices carrying across the plain in a low murmur. Alara could not understand the words, but the tone was not hostile. She made a decision. Slowly, she stepped out from behind the rock, raising her hands slightly to show she meant no harm. Tico clung to her side, his small face pressed against her leg. The tall human approached, stopping a few meters away. "We are here to help," the humans said, their voice steady and reassuring. Alara's heart pounded. Help? Could she trust them? She had faced danger before, but never like this. Strangers, with advanced tools and knowledge. She glanced at Tico, whose wide eyes reflected both curiosity and fear. She made a choice. They had survived so far through wit and courage, and perhaps now they would survive with allies. Alara stepped closer, keeping her movements deliberate and slow. The humans observed her without aggression. The tall one extended a hand, offering a small container filled with water and rations. Alara hesitated for a moment before taking it. Tico reached out and took a small sip, his hunger momentarily satisfied. Relief washed over her. These humans had provided safety, and more importantly, sustenance. Over the next few hours, the humans demonstrated their intentions. They used small tools to purify water, repair makeshift shelters, and even create a temporary protective barrier around the area where Alara and Tico had been living. Alara watched carefully, noting the intelligence and problem-solving skills they displayed. They were humans, like her ancestors, capable of ingenuity, compassion, and cooperation. As night fell, a sudden storm approached. The winds picked up rapidly, and dark clouds rolled across the sky. Alara knew that her crude shelter would not withstand the storm, and Tico shivered with fear. The humans acted quickly, deploying devices that projected a protective dome over the area. The wind buffeted the dome, but it held firm. Inside, Alara and Tico were safe, and for the first time in many nights, she felt a sense of security. The storm raged outside, But inside the dome, Alara and Tico were dry and warm. She watched as the humans worked together, communicating silently through gestures and small devices. She realized that their intelligence, their cooperation, and their sense of duty were extraordinary. They were not perfect, but they were capable of great acts of courage and care. After the storm passed, Alare stepped outside the dome with the humans. The plains were transformed by the rain, small puddles reflecting the faint light of the alien moon. The air was fresh, carrying the scent of damp earth and new life. Alara felt a surge of hope. This world was harsh, unforgiving, and dangerous, but with allies, perhaps it could be a place of safety. The humans led her to a small settlement they had established nearby. It was simple, yet well-constructed, with shelters designed to withstand the planet's extreme conditions. Alara observed the careful organization, the ingenuity and the use of resources, and the way the humans worked together. She realized that survival here was not just about strength. It was about intelligence, planning, and collaboration. Inside the settlement, Alara was given a secure space for herself and Tico. It was small, but it was enough. Tico explored cautiously, his eyes wide with wonder at the unfamiliar surroundings. Alara watched him, her heart swelling with both love and relief. For the first time in months, she felt that they were not alone. They had allies. They had hope. Over the following days, Alara learned more about the humans. They shared knowledge of the planet, explaining the best ways to find food, water, and shelter. They taught her how to use certain tools and devices to make life easier. Alara absorbed the lessons quickly, her mind sharp and eager to learn. She realized that her survival instincts and problem-solving skills were respected here. The humans did not see her as weak or helpless. They saw her as resourceful, capable, and intelligent. One day, while exploring the outskirts of the settlement, Alara came across a group of humans repairing a broken water collector. She offered her assistance, showing them a method she had developed to stabilize the structure using local materials. The humans were impressed, praising her ingenuity and quick thinking. Alara felt a deep sense of pride. She was not just surviving. She was contributing. Her human abilities, honed by months of struggle, had value even among advanced technology and organized systems. Tycho, too, was adjusting. He played among the safe areas of the settlement, learning to navigate the environment with a newfound sense of security. Alara watched him closely, ensuring that he learned not only survival skills, but also the importance of observation, patience, and adaptability. She knew that these lessons would serve him well, not just on this planet, but anywhere life might take them. One evening, as the alien sun dipped below the horizon, Alara sat outside her shelter, looking at the stars that shimmered faintly above. The humans moved about in the distance, their silhouettes calm and purposeful. She reflected on how far they had come, from the desperate struggle in the canyon to this moment of relative safety. Her mind wandered to the risks she had taken, the nights spent in fear, and the moments when hope seemed distant. Yet here they were, alive and thriving, thanks to courage, intelligence, and the willingness to trust others. The following morning brought a new challenge. A section of the settlement's protective barrier had been damaged by minor tremors in the ground. Alara saw the humans preparing to repair it and instinctively stepped forward to help. Together, they worked to reinforce the structure, combining human technology with her practical survival experience. The process was slow, demanding patience and focus, but Alara felt a sense of belonging she had never known before. She was no longer just surviving. She was part of a community that valued skill, courage, and collaboration. Days turned into weeks. Alara and Tico grew stronger and more confident. The humans shared knowledge of cultivation techniques, allowing Alara to grow small patches of edible plants near their shelter. She taught Tico the importance of observation, patience, and ingenuity. The bond between mother and child deepened, now supported by the stability of the human settlement. Alara realized that safety was not just about protection. It was about the ability to plan, to teach, and to contribute meaningfully to a larger community. One evening, Commander Rylan, the tall human who had first approached them, came to speak with Alara. He praised her courage and resourcefulness, explaining that their mission had initially been to explore and survey the planet, but they had come to admire her determination and intelligence. He offered her a permanent place within the settlement, emphasizing that her skills and her child's well-being were valued. Alara felt a mixture of gratitude and humility. She had faced dangers she never thought she could endure, yet here she was, recognized and respected. Alara accepted the offer, not just for herself, but for Tico. She understood that their survival had always depended on courage, love, and intelligence. Now, it would also depend on trust, collaboration, and learning. The settlement was not just a safe place, it was a chance for growth, for stability, and for a future that held promise. As night fell, Alara watched Tico sleep peacefully, his small chest rising and falling with steady breaths. The alien winds howled in the distance, but inside the settlement, there was calm. She reflected on the journey that had brought them here, the risks, the struggles, and the moments of fear. Every step had been a testament to human resilience and ingenuity. In that quiet night, Alara realized something profound. Humans were capable of surviving and thriving even in the harshest environments, not just through strength, but through intelligence, adaptability, and care for one another. She had witnessed it in herself, and now she saw it in the humans around her. Together, they could face anything this world threw at them. The stars above flickered faintly, tiny points of light in the dark sky. Alara whispered to Tico, "We are safe now, little one. We are learning, growing, and surviving. And one day, we will thrive." In that moment, she felt a deep sense of connection, not only to her child, but to the broader human spirit, a force capable of hope, courage, and ingenuity even in the farthest reaches of the galaxy. The settlement had grown quieter with the passing days. The alien winds still whipped across the plains, but inside the human colony, there was a sense of rhythm and purpose. Alara had adapted well. She had learned to navigate the small shelters, to use the water purification systems, and even to help Tico understand the basic safety rules of their new home. The humans treated her with respect, recognizing the strength and ingenuity that had carried her and her child across the dangerous plains. Tico ran across the small open area near their shelter, laughing as he chased a small creature that had wandered close to the settlement. Alara watched him with a smile, her heart lighter than it had been in months. Yet she knew that the safety of the settlement was fragile. The alien world outside remained unpredictable, and the humans, though powerful and intelligent, were not invincible. She had survived harsh nights alone, and she had learned that vigilance could never be relaxed. Not for a moment. One morning, alarms rang across the settlement. Alara quickly lifted Tico, pulling him close as humans moved with urgent efficiency. The protective barrier that shielded the settlement from the unpredictable winds had detected seismic activity from a nearby ridge. Rocks had tumbled, and a dangerous landslide threatened to engulf part of the colony's outer perimeter. Alara's pulse raced. She had seen landslides before, and she knew how fast they could change the landscape, how quickly lives could be lost. The humans moved with precision, issuing commands and coordinating repairs, but Alara noticed something was missing. They did not fully understand the behavior of the rocks and soil on this alien planet. She had observed the ridges for weeks, learning the subtle shifts and cracks, the small signs of instability. Alara stepped forward, her voice steady but urgent. "The lower ridge will give first." "Reinforce there before the upper walls," she said. The humans paused, then nodded, following her directions. Together, Alara and the humans worked to divert the falling rocks, using reinforced panels and temporary scaffolding. Tico stayed close, his small hands holding a piece of soft cloth that Alara had given him for comfort. She could feel his fear, but also his fascination at the humans working together, adapting and following her guidance. The teamwork was powerful, a combination of human ingenuity, instinct, and experience. As the rocks began to tumble, Alara shouted directions, guiding the humans to shift barriers and clear debris. A massive boulder broke loose, rolling toward the edge of the protective wall. Alara lunged forward, pushing a panel into place just in time. The boulder struck the barrier, and a loud crash echoed through the settlement. Dust and stones scattered, but the wall held. Alara's heart pounded, her muscles screaming from exertion, but she did not stop. She had learned long ago that survival demanded courage, quick thinking, and trust in one's own skills. Once the immediate danger had passed, the humans gathered around Alara, their expressions a mixture of awe and gratitude. Commander Rylan placed a firm hand on her shoulder. "Your insight saved lives today. You see this planet differently than we do." "That is why we need you here," he said. Alara nodded, her chest heaving. She felt a mix of pride and relief. Her knowledge, born from necessity and love for her child, had become invaluable to this community. In the days that followed, Alara continued to work with the humans to strengthen the settlement. She taught them how to identify the subtle shifts in the terrain, how to find stable soil for construction, and how to detect early signs of environmental hazards. The humans listened carefully, combining their advanced technology with her practical knowledge. It was a partnership that showcased the best of humanity, the ability to learn, adapt, and cooperate. Tico, meanwhile, had begun to explore more confidently. He learned the names of tools, observed the humans repairing structures, and even helped in small ways, carrying light objects or passing materials. Alara watched him closely, encouraging his curiosity while teaching caution. She realized that survival was not just about food or shelter. It was about knowledge, understanding, and the ability to think ahead. One evening, as the sun set behind the alien ridges, painting the sky in muted reds and purples, Alara took Tico to a vantage point, overlooking the settlement. She pointed to the shelters, the protective barrier, and the small cultivated plots of plants. "See, little one?" she said softly. "This is what humans can do together. We protect each other, we work together, and we survive." Tico nodded, his small hand gripping hers. There was understanding in his eyes, a reflection of the lessons she had been teaching him since birth. The calm was temporary. A faint tremor shook the ground, causing small stones to fall from the ridge. Alara immediately knew the pattern. It was different from the last landslide. This was a precursor to something larger, something that could threaten the entire settlement. She called out to Commander Rylan, explaining the signs and suggesting a strategy to reinforce the barriers. The humans listened intently, following her guidance with precision. As the hours passed, Alara and the humans worked tirelessly, reinforcing walls, redirecting water flows, and stabilizing structures. She marveled at the human ability to coordinate complex tasks under pressure, combining intelligence with strength and speed. Together, they created a system that was stronger than any she had seen before. It was a testament to human resilience, the ability to face danger head-on, to use knowledge and skill to protect life, and to care for one another in the process. Night fell, and the threat subsided. Alara finally allowed herself to sit, holding Tico close. He leaned against her, tired but safe. She thought about how far they had come, from the desperate nights of scavenging and evading predators to this moment of stability and collaboration. Her journey had taught her that survival was not just about endurance, but about connection, about trusting others, and sharing knowledge for the greater good. The following days were quieter, giving the settlement time to repair and strengthen. Alara continued to contribute, guiding humans in cultivating food, conserving water, and building more resilient structures. Her role became central to the community, not as a visitor, but as a valued member whose experience and insight shaped daily life. He learned quickly, mimicking Alara's careful observations and the human's methodical approach to tasks. He laughed and played, But he also began to understand the importance of responsibility, observation, and teamwork. Alara saw in him the future, the continuation of human ingenuity and resilience. One day, the humans discovered a previously unknown water source beyond the settlement. It was a small spring hidden in the rocks, providing fresh water that could support expansion. Alara had noticed subtle signs during her explorations, but it was the humans' technology that allowed them to locate and access it fully. The combination of human skill and her observational insight proved invaluable. Commander Ryland praised her, saying, "Your knowledge and intuition are extraordinary. You see what we cannot."
Alara felt a deep sense of fulfillment. Her experience, born from hardship and love, had become a bridge between survival and progress.
The settlement began to flourish. Simple structures grew stronger. Plants thrived in carefully cultivated plots, and humans and Alara worked together seamlessly. Tico explored with confidence, learning not just survival skills but also the value of cooperation, intelligence, and empathy. Alara realized that this place, once alien and hostile, had become a home, a place where she could provide safety, education, and a future for her child. One quiet evening, Alara walked with Tico to the edge of the settlement. The alien world stretched out before them, still wild and untamed, but no longer threatening in the same way. She reflected on the journey that had brought them here. The perilous nights, the scarcity of food, the constant danger, and the unwavering drive to protect her child. Every challenge had honed her skills, sharpened her instincts, and deepened her understanding of both survival and humanity. Tico looked up at her, eyes wide with curiosity and trust. "Will we always be safe here, Mama?" he asked softly. Alara smiled, brushing a strand of hair from his face. "We will be safe, little one. And not just safe. We will thrive. We have learned to work together, to think, and to protect each other. That is what humans do. That is what we do." As night fell, stars glimmered above, faint but steady, and the wind carried a softer tone than before. Alara felt a quiet pride, not just for her own survival, but for the life she had created with Tico and for the community she had helped build. The settlement was more than a refuge. It was a place of learning, growth, and hope. It was proof that even in the harshest worlds, humans could adapt, endure, and create safety through courage, intelligence, and cooperation. Alara held Tico close, watching him fall asleep under the faint glow of artificial lights and distant stars. She whispered promises of protection, guidance, and hope, knowing that they had both survived the worst and were beginning a new chapter. The human spirit, she realized, was not defined by fear or struggle alone, but by the ability to overcome, to teach, and to care for one another. In that moment, she understood the true power of humanity. The courage to face the unknown, the intelligence to solve problems, and the love that bound individuals together in the face of adversity. The night stretched quietly, the settlement stable, and the future open. Alara allowed herself a moment of calm, a rare pause in a life defined by challenge. The journey was far from over, but for the first time, she and Tico could face it not alone, but as part of a greater human story. A story of resilience, ingenuity, and hope that would carry them through whatever the universe might throw their way.